Yo, what's good? Next your name Amolytics. Happy Friday, everybody. June 6th. Starting out, I'll give a quick recap of the 30th. When we were on here last, I know it's been quite some time. Apologies. I'll be more consistent posting on here moving forward. But quick recap there. Ramirez and Albies, I had those as the top two picks there, both riding a 21 game and 14 game hitting streak, respectively. Didn't come through. Just variance in baseball. It happens. Butler came through the Athletics against Barrios there out in Toronto. And then Dern and Bellinger sold that day. Bellinger out in LA, and then Dern out in Atlanta. So that was our first losing day, since being on here quite some time, honestly, even not being on here. But moving forward on to today, if you're new, I'll give my top five batters that I like for a hit, and then I'll give a home run play if I like one out there. So starting out, I like Adley Rutschman of Baltimore. He's out in, I think they're out in Sacramento right now. The Athletics, they're playing at a minor league ballpark. He's going against J.P. Sears. Let me find them real quick. So starting out, let's talk about Sears. He's giving a 195 whip up to righties right now. A 368 average, 881 FIP as well. Adley, over the course of the past 2 weeks, he's at 10 plate appearances against lefties. He's batting a 375 with the 406 weighted OBA and only striking out at a 10% rate. Sears has been bad, over the course of the year, but these last 5 games, he had a decent outing against Toronto. Not really. Gave up 7 base runners there in 5 innings. Houston got to him, 11 base runners and 9 earned runs there. Game before that, the Angels got to him for 8 base runners, 6 earned runs there. Them being out in that minor league ballpark, hasn't been good to him. Like his last couple times of being at home, New York got to him too for 5 base runners there only in 5 innings, but they got him out of it there quick. He's given up a home run in his last 4 out of 5 games total. And then, as I mentioned, they're out in the minor league ballpark. So Texas got to him there for 6 base runners, and then New York got to him for the Mets-wise, got to him for 7 base runners. He hasn't made it, he only made it one time this year, 6 innings. That was against Miami on the road there, and they're bad themselves. So, I like the spot for Rutschman. He just, had a good series out in Seattle. I think that's where he's from, against the Mariners there. So I like him to keep it rolling against Sears here. This should be a high-scoring game on both sides. Kremer for Baltimore is not too good himself either. Moving forward, I like Alonso out there in Colorado going against Zensatella. I've been attacking him all year. And then, Colorado's a hitter's ballpark. And the Mets are getting their offense going, recently. They looked good against the Dodgers. Alonso himself, over the course of the past 2 weeks, is batting a 480 weighted OBA and striking out at 17% rate. Zensatella to righties is giving up a 1.5 whip and then a 302 average there. And his Kata walk rate is at an 8.6, so very low there. Not expecting him to strike anybody out. I also want to double up here with Soto. Over the course of the past 2 weeks, Soto's batting a 326 weighted OBA, and I know that's not quite high, but looking into his numbers over the past 3 series or so, he's starting to get it together. And this is a 2-week split here, but looking at the last 3 series, and I was looking at his last couple games, honestly. He went hitless last night, I believe. Game before that, he got walked 3 times. And then other than that, it's been home run or double, for the past like 4 or 5 games on or so. So last 4 or 5 games, he has extra base hit, other than the 2 on against the Dodgers. So they're out in Colorado, Hitters Ballpark. Zensatella's not good. I think they have an opener coming out there to save some innings. Zensatella's not going to go quite long at all. Let me find his game log real quick. All right, so last game, at the Mets. So they just saw him out there in New York. I didn't know that one. He gave up 10 base runners, 7 earned, 2 home runs. And then week before that, gave up 7 base runners, 4 earned to the Yankees. And then he faced the Phillies, gave up 11 base runners, 4 earned. So you get they get the pattern here. He's not good, and being out in Colorado doesn't help him either. So I like to double up there with both Alonso and Soto. Moving forward, I like Jose Altuve, Houston at Cleveland, going against Logan Allen. So Houston hasn't seen that many lefties this year, but when they have seen them, they've gotten to them. As I just mentioned, they got to Sears. So I like this spot for them. They're on the road, but, they're not really traveling. They're coming from Pittsburgh. Allen's just not good, in my opinion. He's had, quite a few away games this year, only 3 at home. I pitched decent against Milwaukee there about 3 weeks ago. I went 4 base runners, 0 earned. So that was a good game for him. But Detroit just got to him for 10 base runners, 4 earned. Minnesota, who's not good against lefties by any means, got to him for 5 base runners, 2 earned. He only went 3 innings pitched there. Washington got to him for 11 base runners, 3 earned, went 4 innings there. And then Toronto got to him a bit, 8 base runners, 2 earned, and 5 2/3 there for him. I like Altuve here. He's had, over the course of his last 10 or so at bats, he's at a 584 weighted OBA versus left-handed pitching. And that game against Sears of the Athletics, I'm pretty sure he went yard 2 times there. So I like this spot for him against Allen. In a spot where, they did have Houston as the underdogs last night, and the lines moved to them minus 126. It was minus maybe 102 last night. So I like this spot for Altuve here. Moving forward, I like Judge of the Yankees going against Buehler of Boston. So Buehler, his last couple times he's been away, has got shelled. Sorry, I'm trying to find him. So last week, he was away. Atlanta gave up 12 base runners, 5 earned there. He pitched a decent game against Cleveland about the end of April, the 26th. Gave up 8 base runners, 3 earned there, and 6 innings pitched. But mentioning those 2 teams, neither of those 2 teams have a good offense by any means, And he's out here in Yankee Stadium. And then hold on, let me get this one. Tampa Bay, he gave up 6 base runners, 2 earned, and 5 innings pitched. And then Texas got to him, who's by far the worst offense in the MLB. Got to him for 7 base runners, 4 earned. First game of the season. So his away starts haven't went well, and he hasn't faced a good offense yet. And New York being, I think they got to be top 3, or so against righties. I like this spot for them. I don't see their offense getting going without Judge doing his thing. Somebody else I liked here was Bellinger, but he didn't make the top 5. But I like Judge here. Buehler gives up 1.0 whip to righties, and he has a 16.7 K to walk rate. Just saw Acuna and Riley get to him last week, so this could be honestly a home run spot for Judge as well. But my top 5 in order is Alonso, Rutschman, Soto, Altuve, and then Judge. And then a home run play I like is Stephenson of Cincinnati. He's out in Cincinnati. Weather's good. He's going against Eduardo Rodriguez of Arizona. Let me find him. So Rodriguez has been out. You know, he had a shoulder injury. So this is his first game back. I don't expect him to go long here. And then Arizona's bullpen is horrible themselves. Stephenson, over the course of the last 2 weeks, is batting a 605 weighted OBA versus left-handed pitching with the 375 ISO. And then against Rodriguez' specific pitch mix, he has a 22% barrel rate. So, and let me bring up Rodriguez' game logs for context here. Cincinnati's already a hitter's ballpark. So let's bring up this real quick. Okay, his last time out, he gave up 8 base runners, 4 earned out in San Fran. The Dodgers got to him for 12 base runners, 6 earned, in 2 2/3 of an inning. And then Philly got to him as well for 9 base runners, 3 earned, and 5 1/3. So I like this spot for Stephenson, you know, especially in a hitter's ballpark. You know, he's making his return after some time off. You know, not the best spot for him. And he's already, you know, getting hit up anyway. So those are my top 5. That's my homer. If you want to be notified when I post, please subscribe and turn on your notifications. Like, comment, share. Let me know, any thoughts that you have, anything that you want to hear about. Thank you.